can't stop the noise.
March is Women's History Month, so we felt what better time to present feminism. Feminism is for everyone as a topic for one of our toolkits. It was kind of surprised myself to know, not how little I knew, but to answer a lot of like the participants' questions. So I kind of dug in and really prepared myself and could see where I was ignorant in some of like women's studies and women's histories. And so we kind of use this workshop to learn and grow together. If you've been watching our videos, we have one toolkit a month and we have 3 parts that relate to that topic. And this one in particular is Feminism is for everyone. At PACT, I believe that everyone can be feminist. When we started our workshop though, not everybody was in agreement, and it made sense. And so we kind of dug into that and we did some brainstorming. We asked the question on, what images kind of come up when you hear the word feminism? What do you associate with the word feminist or feminism? And how would you define it? And then we got, facts from an actual dictionary as well as Bell Hooks. We read from her writings, and we challenged ourselves to think a little bit differently and set aside maybe some of our own prejudices or stereotypes that we were linking to feminism. So I encourage you to stick around, learn something, or hopefully you learned something, and challenge yourself. And you can let us know at the end where you stand. Do you identify as a feminist? So as I mentioned at the start of our workshop, not all the participants strongly identified as a feminist, and which this was great. It opened the conversation to brainstorm and kind of think about word associations and what we associate with feminism and feminist, and why we hesitate to identify as a feminist. And some of the reasons that were brought up were, I don't know what the actions and the activities are, and so I feel like I don't qualify because I'm not an activist. Someone brought up about being, like, words sound very aggressive, and it's just like this strong word, and that's not their personality, so they feel disconnected from the word. The being brought up that it's feminism's associated being a lesbian and hating guys, and they don't stand on that side of things either. Not really just understanding what it means and all these waves that it had, and the progression of it. And then, kind of quite simply, like, why do we need another word for basic human rights that we want people to have equality around? So these are all very valid points, and if you're watching, you might relate to them, you might have heard some of them, and you might have more to add, but this is kind of the start of our list. So then we busted out the dictionary, went to a trusty source, and what does feminism mean? And so according to like Merriam-Webster's dictionary, it's the theory of the political, economic, and social equality of the sexes. Quite simply, feminism is about all genders having equal rights and equal opportunities. This is to say that it's respecting diverse women's experiences, identities, knowledge, and strengths, and striving to empower all women to realize their full rights. So when we looked at it that way, it was kind of like, oh, yeah, I'm a feminist, and so at the basic definition, we want to say we're a feminist, but then where did all these other connotations and associations come from? So after we did the dictionary definition, the group was, feeling more comfortable with feminism and understanding that it's like social equality of the sexes. So we pulled out Bell Hooks and her work, Feminism is for Everyone, and read the introduction together. If you don't know who Bell Hooks is, she's an American author, professor, feminist, and social activist, and I highly encourage you to do some research on her because she has a long history of writing on love, race, class, gender, art, sexuality, mass media, and feminism. So I feel like she's a reliable source. So we're going to share for you now the introduction, just because it was so powerful and all of us strongly related, and it kind of summarizes everything that we were thinking and just made a lot of sense. And in the spirit of like educating our audience and bringing feminism for everyone, we would like to share her piece with you. Feminism is for Everybody, Passionate Politics by Bell Hooks. The introduction, Come Closer to Feminism. Everywhere I go, I proudly tell folks who want to know who I am and what I do that I'm a writer, a feminist theorist, a cultural critic. I tell them I write about movies and popular culture, analyzing the message in the medium. Most people find this exciting and want to know more. Everyone goes to movies, watches television, glances through magazines, and everyone has thoughts about the messages they receive and the images they look at. It is easy for the diverse public I encounter to understand what I do as a cultural critic, to understand my passion for writing. Lots of folks want to write and do, but feminist theory, that's the place where the questions stop. Instead, I tend to hear all about the evil of feminism and the bad feminists, how they hate men, how they want to go against nature and God, and how they are all lesbians, and how they are taking all the jobs and making the world hard for white men who do not stand a chance.
When I ask these same folks about the feminist books or magazines they read, when I ask them about the feminist talks they have heard, about the feminist activists they know, they respond by letting me know that everything they know about feminism has come into their lives thirdhand, that they really have not come close enough to feminist movement to know what really happens, what it's really about. Mostly they think feminism is a bunch of angry women who want to be like men. They do not even think about feminism as being about rights, about women gaining equal rights. When I talk about the feminism I know up close and personal, they willingly listen, although when our conversations end, they are so quick to tell me I am different, not like the real feminists who hate men, who are angry. I assure them I am as real and as radical a feminist as one can be, and if they dare to come closer to feminism, they will see it is not how they have imagined it.
Every time I leave one of these encounters, I want to have in my hands a little book so that I can say, read this book, and it will tell you what feminism is, what the movement is about. I want to be holding in my hand a concise, fairly easy to read and understand book. Not a long book, not a thick book with hard to understand jargon and academic language, but a straightforward, clear book, easy to read without being simplistic. From the moment feminist thinking, politics, and practice changed my life, I have wanted this book. I have wanted to give it to the folk I love so they can understand better this cause, the feminist politics I believe in so deeply. That is the foundation of my political life.
I have wanted them to have an answer to the question, what is feminism? That is rooted neither in fear or fantasy. I have wanted them to have this simple definition to read again and again so they know feminism is a movement to end sexism, sexist exploitation, and oppression. I love this definition, which I first offered more than 10 years ago in my book, Feminist Theory, From Margin to Center. I love it because it clearly states that the movement is not about being anti-male. It makes it clear that the problem is sexism, and that clarity helps us remember that all of us, female and male, have been socialized from birth to accept sexist thought and action. As a consequence, females can just be as sexist as men, and while it does not excuse or justify male domination, it doesn't mean that would be naive and wrong-minded for feminist thinkers to see the movement as simplistically being for women against men, to end patriarchy. Another way of naming the institutionalized sexism, the need, we need to clear that we are all participants in,
Perpetuating, I love that word.
perpetuating sexism until we change our minds and hearts, until we let go of sexist thought and action and replace it with feminist thought and action.
Males as a group have and do benefit the most from patriarchy, from the assumption that they are superior to females and should rule over us. but those benefits have come with a price. In return for all the goodies men receive from patriarchy, they are required to dominate women, to exploit and oppress us, using violence if they must to keep patriarchy intact. Most men find it difficult to be patriarchs. Most men are disturbed by hatred and fear of women, by male violence against women, even the men who perpetuate this violence. But they fear letting go of the benefits. They are not certain what will happen to the world they know most intimately if patriarchy changes. So they find it easier to passively support male domination, even when they know in their minds and hearts that it is wrong. Again and again, men tell me they have no idea what it is feminists want. I believe them. I believe in their capacity to change and grow, and I believe that if they knew more about feminism, they would no longer fear it, for they would find in feminist movement the hope of their own release from the bondage of patriarchy.
It is for these men, young and old, and for all of us, that I have written the short handbook, the book I have spent more than 20 years longing for. I had to write it because I kept waiting for it and appear, and it did not. And without it, there was no way to address the hordes of people in this nation who are daily bombarded with anti-feminist backlash, who are being told to hate and resist a movement they know very little about. There should be so many little feminist primers, easy to read pamphlets and books telling us all about feminism, that this book would be just another passionate voice speaking out on behalf of feminist politics. There should be billboards, ads in magazines, ads on buses, subways, trains, television commercials, spreading the word, letting the world know more about feminism. We are not there yet. But this is what we must do to share feminism, to let the movement into everyone's mind and heart. Feminist change has already touched all of our lives in a positive way, and yet we lose sight of the positive when we all hear about feminism is negative.
When I began to resist male domination, I rebelled against patriarchal thinking and to oppose the strongest patriarchal voice in my life, my mother's voice. I was still a teenager, suicidal, depressed, uncertain about how I would find meaning in my life and a place for myself. I needed feminism to give me a foundation of equality and justice to stand on. Mama has come around to feminist thinking. She sees me and all her daughters, we are 6, living for better lives because of feminist politics. She sees a promise and hope in feminist movement. It was that promise and hope that I want to share with you in this book and with everybody.
Michelle. Imagine living in a world where there is no domination, where females and males are not alike or even always equal, but where a vision of mutuality is the ethos shaping our interaction. Imagine living in a world where we can all be who we are, a world of peace and possibility. Feminist revolution alone will not create such a world. We need to end racism, class elitism, imperialism, but it will make it possible for us to be fully self-actualized females and males able to create beloved community, to live together, realizing our dreams of freedom and justice, living the truth that we are all created equal. Come closer, see how feminism can touch and change your life and all our lives. Come closer and know firsthand what feminist movement is all about. Come closer and you will see feminism is for everybody. Wow, so how did we stray so far from what was written to what is actually happening? It's pretty wild, right? You know, we all appreciated and accepted what Bell Hooks had to say, but it's just not matching our world. And so some of the patterns that we've noticed, and they just basically reiterated what was being said, and we kind of had a discussion on this. One, we only know what we know. So if we're raised a certain way, if we're in a particular environment, that's all we know. And so it's kind of our responsibility to go out and think critically and learn. And there's always a chance to grow and have that growth mindset to change old ways of thinking or ways of thinking that may no longer serve us. Repeated discrimination and oppression is going to incite rage. So when we identify angry feminists, there's kind of a reason, because they've probably been oppressed or discriminated against or treated poorly, and when that's a repeated process, you're gonna get angry. I'm not saying it's the most proactive way of going about it, but I understand and I get now how we drifted so far from where bell hooks started us out. And the other thing, the last thing, number 3, is this: women can be sexist too. Both genders have to be held accountable for things to change, and I think we forget that. It's not about men holding us back. Sometimes there's women that are holding us back because they have old ideals as well. So for all of us to move towards Bell Hooks' vision and this equality for all, we have to be responsible for changing some of our ways of thinking. And I know for me, I do want to be a feminist of the bell hooks variety. I think she's diplomatic, she's gentle, she's honest, she's compassionate, she's clear, she's intelligent. Like, I can stand behind that. I think our biggest takeaway is that once we've learned more about feminism, we don't have to fear it. We kind of collected the facts and can stand by it without having, like, oh, I'm a feminist, but there's no more reason to be defending it. It's kind of, yes, I'm proud to say I'm a feminist. And so we have agreed that we embrace the movement. Where do you all stand? And if you're still unsure, of course, I have challenges for you to help you to think critically and just shift your mindset a little bit, or learn more, or add to your repertoire of knowing why you're a feminist. So the first challenge: educate yourself on feminism life. There's a whole intersectionality that we did not really get into, but that's a world that you can explore. This video just kind of cracked the door for you, and continue to take your education further, learn more, and then tell us. We'd love to hear what you learn, so that we can continue growing our feminism movement together. Our second challenge for you is to clear your feed. Who are you following on social media? Are they in conflict with maybe what your values are? Are they in conflict with your belief in inequality? And sometimes we don't notice until now the veil has been lifted, but look at who you're following and see where they stand, and if they have sexist tendencies, maybe they're not good people to continue getting information from. The third challenge encourages you to educate others. Not everybody has the wisdom that you all just received, and so start with friends and family. Ask them, do they identify as a feminist? And if they don't, find out why. This isn't about fighting with them or arguing or being a bad feminist. This is about educating them and hearing their perspective and understanding where they're coming from, and having an honest discussion on equality and why feminism is for everyone. Thank you for watching our video. If you enjoyed it, please like, share, comment. We'd really love to hear from you. Stay tuned for our next video.